So recently I contracted COVID, and between my sweats I thought I would play a game to soothe my wounds, and one that came up was from Drinkbox Studios, and it's called Nobody Saves the World. Now if you're unfamiliar with Drinkbox, then you may have heard of Guacamelee. And even though this is on Xbox Game Pass and I didn't pay any money for this, if it wasn't on Xbox Game Pass, I would have 100% bought this 10 times over. Essentially, you start off as a nobody. You're kind of like this lifeless, formless, baby-like creature, and you find a wand that gives you the ability to change form. And it's these forms that give you access to different areas and allow you to unlock different things and, go and explore the world and find out what's happened to the story. Now, in terms of actual gameplay, a lot of people are describing it as like a Zelda-esque game. I'm not the biggest fan of Zelda-likes, but I am a big fan of ARPGs, and there were loads of elements to this that kind of overlapped to Diablo, which I absolutely loved. You're fighting big packs of monsters, you have lots of AoE, and there's damage all over the place. Now, I'm not going to tell you too much about the forms because I think part of the magic is discovering them and what they do and kind of what unfolds from also unlocking them. But what I will say is that there is a lot of grinding, there's a lot to unlock with the forms, and there's also a lot of side quests in the game. Now personally, I really don't like side quests generally because I find them quite mundane. Usually they don't add that much and it's usually for some sort of health potion. However, everything is steered towards you either unlocking further dungeons or unlocking different abilities for your forms. And because of this, all the side questing and bits and pieces and the fact that it's got a great layer of humour, it made it really fun, and time just seemed to fly when I was playing this. I think it's also worth mentioning that the music was really good, the different biomes are a lot of fun, the colour palette is bright and cheerful, and there's also a really good difficulty curve that kind of starts you off on nice easy things and eventually gets you into more advanced techniques. So for example, you might just be hacking and slashing enemies down, and later on you'll have to use your forms in different ways where some damage types only work on some enemies, etc. The nice thing about the forms as well is there are 2 independent trees that you can go down. And to unlock further forms, you basically got to play the form that is on the current top of the tree. Depending what level your form is, it goes from E to A, and most form progression only requires you to usually get a C. Where things get interesting though is if you actually level a form to its maximum potential, or at least close to it, then you get access to kind of a new, different form on the same tier. And there are like 15 plus forms, so there's loads and loads to do, and they're all really interesting, and they all have their own personality. There are also tie-ins as well to the story quest, which makes it all the more fun. The game is both single player and multiplayer. I got to play both of them. The multiplayer was good. There was some jank that I didn't quite like. For example, if you pause in the menu screen, then it pauses it for your partner as well. But when you're leveling your forms, you both level up the same tree, so you get to access stuff twice as fast. There is some HP and damage increases as well if you're doing it in co-op, so you don't need to worry about it being too easy if you're playing it with a friend. It was also worth noting that the input lag was minimal, so the experience was really smooth. In terms of game length, now I haven't actually completed it yet, but I've put a good 8 hours into it so far, and I am nowhere near completing it. There are a lot of dungeons, there's optional dungeons that you can do to rank your forms further, and then there's all the personality and humour of the world to take in while you're exploring things. Now, there are no roguelike elements to it per se, but apart from going into the dungeon, so when you go in, it randomly kind of generates the routes for you to go down. They aren't that random though. When I went into one dungeon, I think I only ever saw like maybe 3 versions maximum of it. And even then, I think it was just putting it at a different angle, so turning it at 90 degrees. One of the other unique selling points as well, going back to the forms, is that you can actually mix and match the abilities. So you have passive abilities on your form, and you get to put a new one on every 10 levels. You also get to take the secondary ability of other forms and put them on your current form. That does come with some limitations because your primary attack still does remain the same, and each of the forms does have different HP and MP as well. But nonetheless, it was really fun playing around with them, and I'm sure there's all sorts of wonderful broken combos that people can come up with. In terms of bugs, I didn't really run into any. There was only one that really irritated me a little bit, was the fact that when you unlock a new form, you have to go to the tree, select it, and then go back to the game to get it to appear on your Hot Wheel, but that was something that was quickly overcome. Either way, I highly recommend checking this out. You can download it on Game Pass, so it's basically free anyway. But if you are someone who likes to own the games, then it's under £20 at the moment, which is a real bargain for the amount of time I've got out of it so far. Either way, let me know what you think of it so far, and I hope you all have a great day, and I'll be back with more news and reviews soon.